Welcome, one and all, back to the Viper's Nest. And today, I'm going to take a shot at something that does not give me a whole lot of pleasure to talk about. We're going to talk about gatekeeping. Ugh. So, here's the thing. People have been talking a lot about gatekeeping online, about fans of things like Warhammer 40k and Battletech, and even video games at this point. People not wanting to let other people in on the things that they love. God, I don't want to talk about this. I'm going to anyway. Fuck it. So what is gatekeeping? According to the dictionary, gatekeeping is generally people limiting or controlling general public access to various things like Warhammer 40k and Battletech and video games, and really just any other thing you can think of that has some kind of fan base to it, right? So the reason we're hearing a lot about gatekeeping is because there's been a lot of stuff, especially with Warhammer 40k, involving like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and, well, I guess to really dumb it down, things going quote-unquote woke, and how this is negatively impacting the things we love. So the big one in the news has been, like, Games Workshop coming out and saying that female Adeptus Custodes are a thing, and have always been a thing in the lore, which, no, they haven't. I already did a video about that. And then the backlash of, like, dedicated fan bases, coming out and essentially boycotting things such as this. So, before I go any further, I want everyone to understand that everything I'm about to say in this video has an exception somewhere. I'm about to tell you that a lot of us fans don't want to have to be doing this gatekeepy shit, right? But at the same time, I know for a fact that there are people out there who are attempting to gatekeep for the sole purpose of essentially just being dicks. Alright? Are we all understood? Okay, so let's get into it. Like I just said, us fans in the Warhammer 40k fan base, and the Battletech fan base, and the video game fan base, we don't want to have to be doing this gatekeeping shit. We really, really don't. At least most of the people in my particular neck of the woods understand that it is people coming into our game space, new players, wanting to learn and have fun, and support all the same stuff that we love. We understand that that is what keeps the things we love alive. Like, that's the truth. We don't want to have to do this gatekeeping shit. So why is gatekeeping shit becoming a thing even among people who don't want to fucking do it? Well, I'll tell you, at least from my own perspective, my own experiences, my own neck of the woods, right? So, alright. Let's use Warhammer 40k as an example here, real quick, right? So a lot of the quote-unquote wokeists, God, I really don't like that word, but I'm going to use it anyway. The wokeists want to change the very universe of Warhammer 40k to become more tolerant and have more representation for whatever it is that they might be a part of, whether it's like female representation, trans representation, LGBTQ representation, whatever. All shit that, well, it's not really shit. There's people out there with valid concerns on stuff like that. Sorry, I should have rephrased. But the point is, a lot of that stuff has already been in Warhammer 40k, but to make 40k a more tolerant place in universe, let's say, is a borderline impossible task, because 40k is like the epitome of intolerant. Like, literally, practically every single race and faction in that game wants to kill every single other race and faction in that game. Like, use the freaking Imperium as an example. Essentially, their whole stance is, if it's not human, it has to die. Period. Like, that's intolerance in a nutshell, I think, and it's baked into the very cultural fabric of the Imperium of Man in universe. And also, there's like, the Eldar don't like non-Eldar people. The Orcs, well, the Orcs really don't give a fuck. They just want to fight anybody and everybody, but that's just how the Orcs do, so I'm not entirely sure they're a good example of it. But, like, Chaos wants to kill and consume the universe. The Tyranids want to kill and consume the universe. Intolerance is baked into the very fabric of Warhammer 40k, and to try and make the universe of 40k more tolerant, well, at that point you're changing 40k into something that is really no longer 40k at that point. And it's fucking infuriating. The same thing they're trying to do to Battletech, which I fucking love Battletech. I've been quietly obsessed with Battletech and MechWarrior since I played, I think it was MechWarrior 2 on my neighbor's computer a long-ass time ago, back in the Dark Ages. And thankfully, the wokeness has not quite infiltrated Battletech on an in-universe level yet. It's more external stuff, specifically dealing with, like, doxing attacks and things like that from Catalyst Games, which is not fucking cool, no matter which way you slice it. And it makes me mad to see things like this happening to things that I love. And like I said, us fans, we don't want to have to do this shit. Like, there's the whole thing, it's like, Warhammer 40k is for everybody, and on the surface, that should be true. I think anyone who wants to, get into 40k and play the tabletop games and whatever should 100% be able to, but I also feel like you have to understand the kind of universe that you're stepping into. And this used to really not be a problem. Like, alright, example from my own life. Back when I was trying to get into the tabletop version of Warhammer 40k, before I understood how fucking horrendously expensive that fucking hobby is, I went and picked myself up a little $60 box of orcs, because orcs are fucking great and I love orcs. And then I went to my local hobby shop when it was still open. I went into the back where people were playing things like 40k, Battletech, and everything else, and I just politely asked, like, hey, is there anybody here who might be available to kind of teach me how to play this game? And a very, very nice woman, a woman in 40k, I know, right? Anyway, she's real freaking cool. Her name was Tina. She was playing an army of Iron Hands Space Marines, and her response to my question was literally this, and I quote, "Fuck yeah, bro, let's do this." And then me and her played quite a few games together. She taught me the ins and out of, this was 2012, 2013, so it would have been 6th edition Warhammer 40k, I believe. Doesn't matter. Point is, just because I asked and I showed an interest in the thing that she loved, she was willing to take me under her wing and teach me how to play this game. And I don't anymore because, well, one, the editions have changed quite a few times, and two, I don't have the freaking money to support that particular hobby anymore. But the point I'm trying to get across is that, like, 40k fans and Battletech fans and generally fans of a lot of any other things you can think of tend to be very welcoming to new people, or at least we used to be. But nowadays, with all the wokeifying going on, anytime someone new enters into our game space, even if we want to welcome them, there's now always going to be that thought in the back of our minds of like, is this person actually here to learn the game and have fun playing the game? Or are they here to push some kind of agenda? And the fact that we even unwillingly have to think that about our hobbies now is fucking terrible. And I hate it so goddamn much. But at the same time, I've seen what they're attempting to do with 40k and with Battletech and even with video games and shit. So now it's to the point where if I want the thing that I love to continue being the thing that I love, I have to push back against this somehow. And like, I'm just one person who just, this year spent $150 to get myself a couple of box sets of Battletech because I'm finally now in a space where I'm able to learn Battletech, like the actual tabletop game, and not just play the MechWarriors video games. And God, it's so fucking disheartening. And look, I'm not saying that trans people or LGBTQ people or whatever can't play these games. Like, these games should be for everyone, just with the understanding of this is the thing that you're stepping into. And thankfully, Battletech, I feel like, is a little bit more open to things like that. So, like, say you're playing a Battletech game and, I don't know, a person shows up and they've painted their mechs in pride colors. Honestly, that's fine. Honestly, that's not even the weirdest paint job I've ever seen on a battle mech. You want to paint your mechs in pride colors, you go right ahead if that makes you happy. It doesn't affect me one way or another. Because, in the end of the day, we're just rolling some dice, doing some math, and blowing up each other's mechs. Or, say you want to, say you're playing the Battletech RPG, and you say that, hey, like, the character I'm playing is trans. That's cool. I have nothing against that. But, let me ask you a question. Is your character being trans in any way going to affect their ability to reduce those clan mechs over there into smoking piles of scrap metal? I'm gonna say no. Because, I can't think of any reason why a character being trans would affect such a thing. I don't think it would. It won't. That's how the game is made. And if you want your character to be trans as, part of their character flavor, yeah, that's cool. Fucking go for it. I have no problem against trans people. In fact, there's quite a few trans characters that I fucking love. I'll give you an example. So there's this book series called The Clockwork Century by Cherry Priest. It's awesome, like 1800s America combined with steampunk combined with zombies. And I just finished reading book 3 in the series, Ganymede. And my favorite character in this book turned out to be a trans person, which I think is fucking awesome. So her name was Ruth Doniker, and she works at a quote-unquote boarding house owned by one of the main characters. And the entire time, like, Ruth is being awesome. She's kicking ass because she's also, like, a secret agent for the Union working against the Confederacy and all that kind of stuff, doing very kick-ass shit, right? And then in the last act of the book, she ends up getting wounded, part of her clothing gets destroyed, and that leads the other main character, Captain Cly, to notice that this woman, shall we say, does not have the standard equipment of a woman. And his brain short-circuits a little bit. Like, he's not able to process what it is that he just discovered, and he has, like, his own little miniature meltdown, but then comes back to his senses and, like, oh, I'm in the middle of a situation right now where the Confederacy is literally trying to blow up me and my crew. I can feel weird about this later. And then the story goes on, everything gets resolved, and as Captain Cly is leaving to go back to Seattle, he has a brief think on the matter like, that is weird, but I don't know, fuck it, it's not my business, who the hell cares? And then he just leaves it at that. And now it might seem kind of callous for me to say that Cly had a little bit of a meltdown over the fact that he discovered someone was trans, but here's the thing you have to remember. This is 1860s America, and in this time, the Civil War is still going, so America hasn't even fucking dealt with slavery yet, let alone contemplated things like gender identity and stuff like that. So you gotta give Captain Cly a little bit of wiggle room on that one. But the point is, that did not stop Ruth from being a fucking awesome character. My favorite character in the entire book. Doing all kinds of, like, kick-ass, steampunk, spy stuff. So understand that, as I'm speaking all this, I have no fucking problem at all with trans people or LGBTQ people. I don't want to have to gatekeep my hobbies from people who might be woke for fear that, they might be trying to irrevocably change and ruin my hobby. And if you think Warhammer 40k isn't getting ruined, let me share this fact with you. So, in the wake of the female custodians thing, which, again, as a concept, I have no fucking problem with, is the fact that they completely disrespected the lore in their implementation. The chief financial officer of Games Workshop fucking left the company and sold off most of her stock. Like, it's not confirmed that she's jumping from a sinking ship, but that's very much the actions of somebody who is jumping from a fucking sinking ship. Think about that for a moment. So the point, to go back to my original point, in this video, I want to try to make people understand that as fans of 40K and Battletech and literally anything else, most fans, we don't want to have to gatekeep this shit. It sucks. We don't like doing it. But we cannot allow the thing that we have spent lots and lots of money and time on to go down in a fucking dumpster fire just because some corporation somewhere is attempting to push the fucking diversity, equity, inclusion, representation, whatever. Just because they are forcing that upon us, we don't want to see our hobby go down in flames. And that's kind of fucking what's happening right now. And here's the thing. Battletech, at least, if it falls to the woke forest fire, in theory, Battletech could survive without Catalyst games. Like, we have the books, and in the books, it's expressly stated that literally anything you put together can be a mech on the tabletop. That's literally written into the fucking rule book. So, if Catalyst Games goes under, us fans still have the books, and now we have awesome 3D printer technology, so we can print our own models. Battletech will survive without Catalyst Games. I'm not entirely sure Warhammer 40K will be able to survive without Games Workshop. I hope it will, if it comes to that, but I don't want it to come to that, because I used to love Games Workshop. I love the Black Library, and without Games Workshop and the Black Library, well, just from my own perspective, we're not going to get answers to many of the mysteries that have been put forth in the 40K universe, like the missing Primarchs. What the fuck is going on underneath the Palace of Terra? What the fuck is up with the Processional of the Damned? Tell us about the Deep Warp. All of those things, we'll never get official answers if Games Workshop goes away. Because if Games Workshop goes away, Black Library goes away. And guess what? Black Library has a lot of fucking awesome authors in it, like Graham McNeil, Ben Counter, my two favorites. If there's no Black Library, then those guys aren't going to be writing any more 40K books and giving us more awesome 40K content. You see where I'm coming from here? I don't want our games and our fandoms to be ruined just because they fucking felt the irrevocable need to go woke. I don't want that. Us fans, us normal fans, we don't want that. That's why we feel like we have to gatekeep this shit, to keep the wokeness from getting in and destroying what we love. I'm sorry this sounds like a temper tantrum, but like I said, 40K and Battletech are two things that are very, very close to my heart, and I don't want them to get ruined. To put it in, Battletech terms, me and the people I associate with, we're just mercs who are trying to get by in the inner sphere, We just want to do our things, pull triggers, stack bodies, make money. We barely even deal with the politics that's already inside of the inner sphere, and let me tell you, the in-universe inner sphere politics, that is a fucking viper's nest that even we as players don't really want to fuck around with. But at the same time, that's what makes Battletech so interesting, am I right? So, not even wanting to deal with the in-universe politics, we definitely don't want to fucking deal with real-world politics in a game that's literally about giant robots blowing each other up. Keep your real-world shit out of my gigantic robot blowy-uppy game, please. Alright, we're coming up on 20 minutes. I think I'm done. I'm going to stop the video here and eat lunch now. Thank you for coming to my TED tantrum. A like and a subscribe would sure be appreciated. Comments as well. Let me know your thoughts on the wokeness infiltrating your favorite fandoms, if your favorite fandoms are currently undergoing that. I'm so fucking sorry if they are. This is not a thing I would wish on anybody. And as always, see you next episode, and have a wonderful day.